Welcome back to Truly Heal and our video one of our Rife training. In this video, I have to cover a bit of theory and technical parts which have not yet something to do with the treatment, but they're really important. So I thought I'll keep them very concise and short. What are Rife frequencies and how do they work? What are they used for? Contraindications, side effects, best practice, and resources and frequencies. Things you just need to know in order to operate this stuff really well. Now, what are Rife frequencies and what are they used for? Everything has its own resonant frequency. Like one tuning fork can sing another of the same frequency, so can everything be brought into resonance with the suitable wavelength. So no matter whether it's a stone or rock or bone or tissue, everything has a resonant frequency, and as soon as we hit that, it sings along. We know that from a tuning fork. You have one, and if you have the same match or a harmonics thereof, you swing this one and this one sings along. They resonate with each other. In the same way, we use that for cells and microbes and pathogens. Every form of virus or bacteria, they resonate with certain frequencies and get influenced by those. Now, like in music, they can harmonize and mellow us down and gentle bring us into a certain mood, or they can activate, stimulate, they can calm us, or they can destroy us. And this is how Rife is actually used, but it's not so much the sound frequency, because you can't hear them. There is a different form of energizing, and that's what we call is the electroporation. It's actually electrons that are sent out in a certain frequency which then resonate with the cell. If there is a match in frequency, the permeability of the cell membrane, and you remember the membrane is what Dr. Bruce Lipton explains, the most important part of every cell. It's the intelligence of the cell. As soon as you have the right frequency to resonate with that membrane, the energy is absorbed. And that changes the electrical charge of the cell and changes and leads to changes in shape and pattern. Now, you will find as we go on in a little slide, you can see that the form of the cell changes, that the inner structure of the cell changes as soon as we induce that form of energy. Due to this electroporation, the pathogen destabilizes and dies. And that's one of the effects that we try to achieve in the treatment with Rife. Now you can see here we have the Rife frequencies going. I'm actually running right now a frequency for mold, just because this one of those underlying factors that really makes everything worse. So we use that in general with patients just to find out if they have a Herxheimer reaction, if they feel quite intense, then it can be that they're infected by mold. Now, when you look at a one-cell organism, and then you use the frequency of 1150 Hertz, and then you see it destabilizes, it pops, and it completely destroys just by this electroporation. And this is what we create with those cells. Now, the most important part is that Rife has been tested with many different life forms. It has no effect on human cells. So when you have no mold in this case, or no virus or bacteria or anything in your body, the only thing that happens, you induce more energy, but it is not resonant, it's not destroying our body. Whereas if you look at the effects it has, it is antiviral, so it kills all viruses inside and outside the cell, and I explain that in a moment, really important. Antibacterial, so it destroys bacteria, that's why it's so powerful with Lyme disease. Anti-cancer, and this is something that took me a while to understand. Rife, when he researched, did a few experiments, and he used a certain virus, which we all know is related to a certain type of breast cancer, with rats. And he infected those rats, and then when the tumor grew, he took a biopsy of the tumor and distilled the virus out of that, gave the next mouse or rat the virus, and he did that 450 times, inducing with a virus a breast cancer into a rat, and therefore he could prove in his means that it was possible with a viral infection to induce cancer into a body. Now today we know there is about 9 different types of virus directly linked with different types of cancer. So Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, there is Helicobacter pylori. There's different ones which are directly linked with different types of cancer, and that's what we would treat. So it's not so much a cancer treatment, it's a treatment against the cause of cancer that triggers the disease. Antiparasite, certain small size parasites die off, like the pancreatic flukes and many others. It's not so effective against worms. There is some results, but not as many. So I think it's more the smaller entities. Anti-inflammatory, detoxification, because it opens the cell for detoxification, and healing and harmonizing, which what we need, more energy, more healing power for the body to do the repair. Now, contraindications are a very important one. And for our coaches, really, this is something that you always need to work through with your clients. You explain what Rife frequencies do, and then you show them the contraindications before you even turn on the device. And then you have that initialed on the form. Now, very simple. Plasma units is what we are using right now, and those handheld plasma tubes that you can touch, and I'll turn them on later, that is safe to use even if you have heart conditions, blood clots, pacemakers, and if the patient has stents, metal or breast implants. There is no risk. This is really super easy. There is hardly any condition that would react adverse, except if you have a very high load of mold, for example, you would now feel the treatment. Or if you have a very high candida load and you do a candida treatment, then that would trigger a Herxheimer reaction or a die-off, which you need to go slowly and step by step. But if we lose electrodes, which are these little brass handles that you connect and hold, now they run a little electric currency through your body. And the same thing, if you use those fabrics, those socks and gloves, and would use those or put your feet onto the foot plates, that electrical currency needs to be checked. It can induce problems with pacemakers, implants, pumps, everything that is electrical can short out. Now, most of the modern equipment is perfectly shielded. That's why they can go into an MRI or any kind of medical scan or test. But older ones maybe not. So always be careful, check with your doctor, speak with them, ask for the pacemaker label what you have, and then look it up and see if it's safe. Patients with organ transplants is another one where you should be careful because you get a lot of medication that immune suppression medication that prevents organ rejection. So you need to be careful that you don't stimulate that process. Pregnancy, another issue that you need to be careful. See, if there is a lot of toxins dying off and are dumped out of the body, well, the blood is connected between the mother and the baby, so you could dump a lot of toxins into the baby, which we don't want. In general, just pregnancies, stay away from those intense treatments because you can do them afterwards and for the baby as well once their detox pathways are activated. Be careful with dental implants, mechanical heart valves, like I said before, with the electrical current, and breast implants, not so much because you cause a damage to the silicon or to the membrane of the implants, but more so to the valves. Most of them have a little valve that can be searched with a little magnet where they inject more or less silicon or saline solution, and that can then leak. So be careful with those things. But that's pretty much it. Side effects? Hardly any. Actually, there are none known besides the Herxheimer reaction. And I would be very careful. Sometimes a Herxheimer reaction is also not a real Herx. It's just a deficiency or it's an overload of the system because you don't have your detox pathways activated well. So always combine. Drink a lot of water. Combine with sweating, saunas, bath. You can go into a clay bath. Getting the toxins out is the most important thing. Enemas, fantastic. Coffee enemas to flush out the liver and the bile and then eliminate everything out of the colon. Fiber to bind those toxins. Zeolites, charcoal, chlorella, all the things. Support your liver with bitters. The bitter, the better for your liver support, like milk thistle. Simple things. But to get toxins out of the system is crucial. So dying off and killing is all good, but we need to eliminate in the same process. So that's all you need to know about Herxheimer reaction or about the side effects. Now, best practice is actually quite simple. Always use Rife in conjunction with other detox therapies, because when you have a die-off, you want to eliminate. Plenty of water, electrolytes, basica, minerals, and vitamins. Alkaline to achieve best results. We already said there is, in all my videos, I explain that alkalining is key. And that's why I wrote here basica. If you find basica or have a practitioner that prescribes it to you, this is phenomenal. It's 50 times better than any sodium bicarbonate because it doesn't destroy your HCl, your stomach acid. So it's really important. Alkaline to achieve best results. Remove fine electronics, hearing aids. Sometimes they're not built in, they're just external, and the same for PMF. Read contraindications and side effects to your clients and have them sign the waivers. And in our coaching program, you have all the forms to download and document the process as outlined in the paper. Combine detox programs with killing programs. Again, I repeat that. And document sessions and frequencies used, because if you hit a frequency that really triggers a response, you want to fine-tune and search around that. And I'll talk about different aspects of that treatment as well when we talk about resources. See, Rife sat down with his microscope and looked into a little petri dish, into a microbe, and then he was determining the bacteria, let's say Lyme bacteria, and then he tuned the frequency. You always have to wait 3 to 5 minutes for the shape to change, for the pathogen to transform and then to pop. So it's not an immediate process as soon as they hit the frequency. It's a slow motion process. So he had to wait 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes longer, for that process to happen. If it didn't happen, he moved on to the next frequency. And that's how he found out what responds to which frequency. Now we have today pathogens which are completely altered. They are a lot more toxic due to the antibiotics have been used. They are more toxic because they're combined with heavy metals. They have mutated. They have all variations. So sometimes you need to adjust your frequency a little bit to the right or to the left to really target what's wrong. And that's where Rife Research Europe, Rife.de, comes in English, and the Rife Forum and Truly Heal Training really comes in. You will find a lot of different variations and frequencies that people use to have better results. I would sign up straight away if you get one of these devices with Yahoo groups. There is the group for Rifers, then the Rife group and the Rife lists, which really makes a lot of exchange. Like I treat Lyme disease at the moment with a client. There was no response. We adjusted the frequencies into triangular waves and all of a sudden it worked. Now most people have no result with with triangle waves, but she had. So sometimes little adjustments like that really make a big difference, and that's what those Yahoo groups are there for. They share experience, different protocols, different frequencies, which really work. And that's all of theory. We don't need to dig deeper into it, but when you understand the principle that Rife classified cancer triggered by a virus or infection, then that's one part of the whole. See, we know that heavy metals trigger cancer. We know that certain deficiencies attribute to cancer. So taking the infectious part, bacteria load, bacteria overgrowth, like Dr. Mutter in Germany explains, the combination between bacteria and heavy metals, or virus and heavy metals, how they increase the toxicity by 2,000-fold. So dealing with Rife, we deal with infections, and that's the most important part. And we harmonize our healthy cells and stimulate them with energy. And that's what we will do now as we move into the next video, where we look at plasma tubes and how they are used and what you can learn from the frequency book.